6 of the 100 Days of Code. Yesterday, we learned all about if statements and being able to choose which code path we go down based on a question that we ask. Today, we're going to look at the elif statement that allows us to ask more questions and get more options in the same code block. The elif statement is really powerful. It allows us to ask a second, third, fourth, or 156th question to the computer based on the same inputs we started with. This means that I can say, if this, or this, or this, or this, and then everyone else. So I can have lots more different specific states. Before we start though, bit of a warning. Elifs have to go in a certain place. You can have as many elifs as you want, but they must go after the if and before the last else. This is because the else means everything else. And so you can't have options before that. Here we've got a reasonably simple login program using the skills we've learnt so far. But you know and I know this is not the way the internet works. You don't build a website where only one person can log in and it tells everyone else to get on your bike. This website is fundamentally broken, so let's add some elifs to expand upon it. I'm going to make some room just after the code for my if statement and before my else. I'm going to make sure that I backspace because I need to be in line with my if and my else, that it's all connected to. And I'm going to write elif, short for, of course, else if. An elif works just like an if statement in that we do need to ask it a question. So let's see if we can deal with Suzanne. Now it's a very simple program at the moment. It's just saying hello specifically to Suzanne in a different way. But if I run this program, I can tell it that I'm Mark and get a specific message from Mark. I can tell it that I am Suzanne and get a specific message for Suzanne, or I can tell it that I'm Johnny and get the message that everyone else gets. This is a very simple way of adding as many of those as you want. If I have more users, well, it's very easy. I click after my previous elif, but before my else, make some space by pressing enter, making sure that I backspace so I'm in line with the indentation on the left hand side, and then add my next elif. You can go and add as many of these elifs as you want to any program and have much more flexibility about how it works.
Indent.
Indent. Nanti cari segmen.
System because there's no password. Check that username, Boolean expression, password correct. Well, think about the way I said that. Let's go and add some password code. Now, how do we check that a user's username and password are correct? Well, think about the way I said that. Username and password. When we speak in English, we can join things by adding Boolean expressions like and, or not. In this case, we literally need to go into our if statement and check.
Literally.
This stage we literally need to go into our if statement and
Change the condition a little bit. If the username matches with Mark and the password same as password because Mark isn't very secure, then we'll log them in. let's change Suzanne. So if the username is Suzanne and the password is equal to Suzanne's password, which is a little bit more secure than Mark's, then the only way that these if statements work now is if it matches both of them. Let's give that a go. So, my username is Mark, and my password is password. Well, hey, I've logged into Mark's account. Let's see what happens if I put my username as Mark and my password as Mark. Doesn't want me there. How about if I try Suzanne's? So Suzanne, and boom, we get in nice and easily.
Let's hit more impose new. Now you have import form mode. We have import form mode as we need change to our if then statement chart which show chart valid.
Common error that people get errors. Well, apart from the ones we've seen before, there's only really one common error that people get with elifs, and it's putting it in the wrong order. Take a look at this code on the screen at the moment. It's the same program, but we've broken it by putting something in the wrong place. Let's run it and see if we can track down that problem. straight away it's pointed to line 7, our elif, and said it's invalid syntax. And let's have a look why. What's happening before line 7? That's right, we've put our else in. The way we've structured this program, we've said, if Mark logs in, say hello to Mark. But for everyone else, say go away. Is the equivalent of us going, actually, if it's Suzanne, it's too late. That's not how the program can be structured for it to work. So, this entire chunk of code needs to be moved. I'm going to cut it, I'm going to make some room, making sure to backspace, so I'm in line with the ifs and the elses that I want to connect it to, and I'm going to paste back in there. That code now should work perfectly. If you're looking for more of a challenge, once again, I've broken
Mỗi sáng chủ nhật trời không có
some code. Take a look. Okay, challenge time. I'm going to be asking you to go off and create a program that does something very similar to that login system that we were just looking at. It's going to ask for a user's name and their password, but it's going to give a specific greeting to each individual user and show them a specific personalized greeting that will give them a very nice start to their day. You must include at least 3 people, as well as an else command that deals with people that shouldn't be logging in. Once that's complete, don't forget to share it with the hashtag Replit 100 Days of Code, either if you publish it to the community or on social media, and see just how the community reacts to your simple login system. of the first week and put an if statement within an if statement. See you tomorrow. All right. Day 7 of 100 Days of Code. You've made it to a week. Well done you. We've learned all about inputs, variables, printing to the console, and if statements, elifs and elses. We've got a whole bag of tricks now that allow us to build something really cool and really unique. But there's one more cherry on top. The concept of nesting, where we put an if within an if and ask follow-up questions. This is how we crack it, everyone. This is how we build the ultimate program. So far, we've built programs with if statements, and the code we wanted to run as part of that if goes underneath the colon and is always indented at least one place further than the if statement. We're going to use the magic of indents to put an if within an if and ask a follow-up question to one we've already asked. Okay, so here we have a very simple program. Which asks our user what their favourite TV programme is and gives some opinions. Now let's assume that we want to go a little bit more in depth with some of those questions. Now, I have a very small child who is obsessed with Peppa Pig, so
Send.
if somebody says to me that Peppa Pig is their favourite TV programme, I want to prod and ask a few more questions. So, let's follow up with a question. I'm going to make some room inside the if statement itself, where the code needs to go. Remember, that needs to be indented underneath that if statement. And I'm going to ask another question and store the result in a variable. With this done, the program is going to ask who the user's favourite character is, only if they they've said their favourite TV show is Peppa Pig. I'm going to put another if statement in now to deal with that. When I start typing the code that should run on this if statement, it's indented again. So we actually have two indents in front of it. If I'm putting an else that should be linked to this if statement, it does need to be in line with this if statement. So this is where these lines that we've been seeing appearing down the side of the page come in really useful. The lines, the little thin lines after each if statement shows how far that if statement actually goes. The line that goes straight down from line 2 to line 8 is everything that is involved in that code. Whereas the lines coming from line 5 to 7 show that it only executes line 6 if the question in line 5 is proved to be true. Let's test it out to see how it's actually going to work. So let's start by saying any other TV show. We got to the else criteria. Okay, let's try Paw Patrol. The first elif picked that up then and gave us the second statement. But let's try the one we've been waiting for, Peppa Pig. You'll see that the code execution has gone now into the second if statement. It's asking us for our next data entry point. So let's say the only correct answer, and so that Daddy Pig is our favourite character, and we get the correct part of that if statement accessed. Now, what I'd like you to do is pause me for a second, go and get this code, copy it, test it out, and then extend it, so that you change it to TV shows that you like, and you ask follow-up questions that are meaningful to you. Change at least one of these questions, expand upon it, and take some time to do that before you get to the chat. if you're remembering your indentation correctly, there's not a lot that can go wrong here that we haven't looked at before. But there is one common problem, and that's when you're getting to an if and an else within an if, this can go wrong. And we're getting our invalid syntax message, this time on line 9 by the aleph. So let's take a look at that, and hopefully you can see that it's not actually that line that's causing the problem. What's happened is that lines 7 and 8, which is just above it, is indented incorrectly. Look at where that else matches up to. That else on line 7 is in line with the if on line 2. That means that's what it's connected to. That's what it is the else for. Not what we were trying, which was the else for lines 5 and 6. So we'll fix that by highlighting both lines and pressing the tab key to indent both those lines at the same time once more. You'll see now the else is indented the same as the if statement on line 5, meaning that it's connected as. It's also worth statement 1. I've provided some broken code that you can try and fix. Hey, your challenge for today. We've all admitted to liking something in public and started questioning us at length to check that we're the real deal. That we're not fake Game Boys or fake anime fans. Well, you're going to create a program that does just that, something that you're in. interest uses nest. Let's see if we can fan.
Welcome to Replit. In this video, I'm going to show you how Replit can help you make something.
Welcome to 100 Days of Code, Replit's very own course where we'll teach you an introduction to Python that... Hi, I'm David Morgan and welcome to this page. We're going to click to sign in with the number of web, you can move that around and click 100 Days of Code. Found us, you're done, click Mark Lessons Complete to move to the next stage. However you found us, we really... Welcome to Replit's 100 Days of Code. I'm the Replit Workspace. And what we need to do go inside exact Replit because it is to name. And well done on day one. Of the subject they're interested in. Don't forget to share It's day 8 and it's an amazing project idea. You're going to use all your time to today to build something amazing. So, you've got some brilliant skills at the moment. You've got the ability to choose which code to run based on an if statement and a question. You can even nest those, so you can have follow-up questions if you'd like. Well, what I'd like you to do with this then is use these superpowers to build either a custom affirmation generator to give yourself a bit of a positive message every single day, or, if you're not that way inclined, a custom insult generator.
Affirmation. Affirmation.
Affirmation. Yes, source.
That works on your friends in interesting and exciting. Exciting ways. What I'd like you to do is ask the user for their name, and then ask them some follow-up questions. For instance, what's the day of the week? What's their favourite thing to do? And then I'd like you to generate, you decide how you want to connect the various variables that you will take with the if statements and the nesting to give the exact perfect positive affirmation to each user. You may also want to use concatenation to include their name or the key facts about them in any message that you bring up later. If you're building an insult generator, please be reasonably kind. We don't want anyone suffering any long-term mental health issues as a result of the names you're going to call them. But once again, you want to take their name, you want to take some information about them and construct something comical to say at them to entertain. The ultimate stretch, though, is if you can work out how, in your if statements, to not care about the capitalization of the name. That's right, I want you to deal with both the lowercase version of a name and the version of the name that includes a capital letter at the start. There's only one key word I want to give you, and that's or. If you were to replace the and concept we thought about before with the word or, you could have an if statement that had multiple possible conditions that would set off the code within it. Have a think about that as you explore statements using logical conditions like action of the name. But if the if statement is equals the we've created my name if statement, variable condition, no matter how many we put as expected to jump social back. We'll see you